Okay, guys, I just wanted to share something. So, people watch my videos, right? And I might not always make the best arguments when I'm just speaking off the top of my head. But best believe when I take the time to write down my thoughts, I will pull out points and specify exactly what I said. So basically, I'm going to read the entire blurb of what I wrote in my last video in the description because I feel like points were made that I didn't make as well in the initial video. So I always feel like I write better than I speak, and I have pretty good writing skills just because my mom's a really good writer. I think I got that from her. But anyways, this is titled, or I guess the point was, why I feel many women are now leaving the feminist movement. And this is the argument I made in my video, simplified, but also a lot more well stated. So, I said, in a nutshell, the trans community ultimately tries to erase any aspect of womanhood that is biologically female. This is counterintuitive and counterproductive to the feminist movement's initial fight against discrimination on the basis of sex, aka being a biological female. The result is the minimizing of biological aspects of womanhood to cater to trans women and men, which creates a disparaging image of woman that excludes or ignores biological factors, differences, and distinctions. I also did say, that we have defined womanhood based off of biological sex for literally centuries until most recently. They did update the definition of woman to anyone who identifies as a woman, which I'm going to get into. Anyways, back to what I said. Basically, that minimizing the biological aspects of womanhood to cater to trans women and men basically takes away or belittles the image of woman by excluding or ignoring any biological factors, differences, and distinctions. This alienates the majority of women whose identity as women is based solely on their biological sex and how those biological aspects impact their daily lives. And any woman that dare raises their voice to question the inclusion of trans women in the feminist movement for this reason or concern is labeled a TERF. Silencing women to support men, or I should say biological males, however you want to say it, is the most misogynistic thing I've ever heard. Here is the truth. I am not threatened by a trans woman or a trans man's existence, but their existence should not take away from, negate, or overshadow the rights of women or the very real challenges and concerns that women face because of their biological sex. Ignoring biology and biological sex differences is how we got to this point to begin with. And ultimately, it is biological women who are harmed the most by this nonsensical rhetoric and rationale. The fact that we use circular reasoning to define a woman is also the problem. If any man can decide at any moment to put on a wig, lipstick, and a dress and simply proclaim, I'm a woman, or just say, I identify as a woman, and automatically become one, then womanhood is belittled to being a feeling, expression, or costume that one can put on or choose at any given moment in time, rather than a definitive, objective reality that holds significance and gives inherent meaning and purpose to that person's body. This point right here, y'all, I think is one of the most important things I've ever written down or stated, because that is actually the problem. This idea that identifying as a woman makes you a woman, or that, changing your outward appearance to look more as a woman makes you a woman, and ignoring the biological components of being a woman, being female, being that what defines womanhood and what has defined womanhood for the past thousands of years, right? It's really important to understand that perspective that I'm saying, because being a woman is should be definitive, it should be objective. And my experience as a woman is not based off of how I feel or how I look or what I wear. Like for me, it is solely based around my biology. It's like how I identify myself as a woman is my biology. I was born a female. And this is something that I feel like is so important. Like the biological aspect of being a female has meaning, it has purpose, it's significant. And that is what is being erased when, we're catering to trans ideologies that basically say biology doesn't matter. However, someone chooses to identify makes it so. And let me continue because I guess I got into that point. I'm gonna reread this because I need to stop stopping myself and let me read what I said. So I said the fact that we use circular reasoning to define a woman is also the problem. If any man can decide at any moment to put on a wig, lipstick, and a dress and simply proclaim, I am a woman, or just say, I identify as a woman, and automatically become one, then womanhood is belittled to being a feeling, expression, or costume that one can put on or choose at any given moment in time, rather than a definitive objective reality that holds significance and gives inherent meaning and purpose, to that person's body. And I'll go back to this because I feel like I think that's the most important thing I said, and I'm going to tie that at the end. But we also know that's not true. A woman carried you in her womb. A woman endured the excruciating pain of labor. A woman birthed you. In my opinion, some of the most beautiful and amazing things women do is because of their biology, not despite it. If you want to erase biological aspects of women in order to make males more comfortable in women's spaces, that's your prerogative. Just know that doing so is at the expense of woman and womanhood, which is the actual issue I have. Supporting trans men and women shouldn't be at the expense of biological women, nor should it require the erasure of language depicting biological aspects and qualities of women, nor should it take away any protections or safety measures put in place to prevent women being put in harm's way. I said so much in this statement, and honestly, it's one of the best things I've ever written. And it's gonna ruffle some people's feathers. A lot of people are not gonna like this statement. I honestly used to post very, very well made statements on my Facebook all the time. You know, I think I am good with words. I said that and frown like it's a bad thing, but I feel like I know how to make my point, get my point across when I need to. And I do it better when I write it down than if I just make a video. But anyways, this is something that I feel like God is helping me understand, because I made that video talking about the trans community from a Christian perspective, right? And I didn't really touch on the whole, choosing how people identify as a woman. I talked about, the identity not being built around God's design, but I want to go deeper into that because God's design of your body has purpose and meaning. That last part of that sentence where I said, being a woman is a definitive, objective reality that holds significance, meaning it is so meaningful. Your biology is meaningful. It is designed by God. It was ordained by God. You're created by God. The way God designed your body is very significant. it also gives inherent meaning and purpose to that person's body. So your biological sex is not just, something that you should ignore or act like it's not important. Like, your biological sex is very significant. It gives inherent meaning and purpose to your body. Your biological sex determines the role that you will play in creating a life. It creates so much. There's significance in being male or female, and that gets ignored in the trans community, right? They pretend like biology doesn't matter. And this is kind of another way that the devil, in my opinion, makes this counterfeit, um has this counterfeit um ideology, I guess, to what God says, because, according to the devil, you can be whatever you want regardless of biology, but God's like, I designed you. I created them, male and female. I created them, and God says he gave purpose to being male or being female. These things are so significant and they're important. They're not just things that, to be ashamed of, to deny, to ignore, to belittle, to put down. It's like your biological sex holds so much meaning biblically, right? Because God defines a lot of the roles in the Bible based off of those things. Man and woman in the Bible are always tied specifically to biological sex. When God created Adam, he said it's not good for man to be alone, and then he created woman. He took from man to create woman, or from male to create female. And it's like the devil, this is why I just feel like everything the devil does is to bring confusion to people. It's to bring confusion, it's to cause chaos, and it's to cause destruction. Because how God designed the world was beautiful. There's purpose, there's meaning behind it. It's intentional how God created men and women. And someone else explained it. He was like, God created man and woman to show two different aspects of himself, because God created men and women equally in his image, right? So men hold one aspect and show one side of God, and females show this other aspect of God, but they both equally represent the goodness of God and how he designed us. If both men and women are created in the image of God, we both hold significance to God. And that significance is tied ultimately to biological sex. Not gender, not the socially created constructs of gender that society deems or created. They're tied to how God ultimately designed you. So it's important just to recognize that your biological sex is not something that is meaningless. It is so important. It is significant. And the way I said, it gives meaning and purpose to that person's body. Because please understand, biological sex is an aspect of your physical body, y'all. Being male or female, I feel like too many people are just ignoring that this is actually your body, that it's the temple you exist in. Your body is a temple according to the Bible. And your biological sex has inherent meaning and purpose to your body. Being a female means you're able to hold, carry a life in your womb. That's so significant. Do you realize how important that role and purpose of your body is? In order for any human being on this planet to exist, you had to exist in a womb, and that womb is only ever going to be attached to a biological sex that is female. This is a purpose and meaning that is distinct to being a female. And to call men and women just male and female, I feel like it's kind of like, I don't like using the term male and female when I'm talking about men and women, because I feel like they mean the same things. Men and woman, male and female, is how the Bible and God has always defined male and female, through men and women. And it's the devil who tries to tell people, oh, well, you can just take away, gender. Gender is different from biological sex. That's where the confusion comes from to begin with, because they're the same things. Male and female, he created them. Man and woman, man and wife. Like, these are defined things that have always meant the same things for thousands of years. But what the devil is doing is creating confusion. He's bringing chaos. He's bringing delusion. Someone being confused about their identity is not God. God doesn't want you to be confused about that. God wants you to know that he created you with a purpose, with meaning, with significance, and that it's important. It's important. Like, your biological sex determines what role you play in creating another life on this earth. Being a male means you are able to father a child. Being a female means you're able to mother a child. These are distinct, significant roles. That's why I'm saying, like, this world is so fallen, has fallen so far from the purpose and design that God has for us. And this is by design. Obviously, this is an attack from the devil on what God created and what God designed as good. This is another deception. It's another counterfeit. What, trans women and trans men is the devil creating a counterfeit of what God created and designed. What God already created and designed was perfect. Right? When he created man and woman, he said, this is good. This is perfect. These two, when they come together, they can create a new life on this planet. And that's never going to change. I always have thought about it from even the most simple, like, just think about this simple statement. Every person on this planet has a biological mother and a biological father. That is always defined by sex. Your father has to be a biological male every single time. The person who fathers you has to be a biological male. And the person who mothers you has to be a biological female. That will never change. You will never get around that. And it's not about sexuality. It's literally just, this is how God designed the world to be. This is how he created men and women to exist. They have to come together in order for a new life to create, to be created, to be formed. Every single time. Even with artificial insemination, you have to have a biological male and a biological female to create another life. You will never get around God's design. Ever. Ever, ever. So anyways, I feel like that's such an important aspect of this conversation that doesn't get talked about. It's just like biology is an important aspect of you as a person. To deny the objective reality of your biology in order to live a counterfeit, to live as a counterfeit, right? That is what the devil wants for people, to bring destruction, to convince a biological man that they can be a woman, knowing that they're never going to be actually a woman, but a counterfeit one. A trans woman is the devil convincing a man they can be a woman, even if it's not actually a woman, but a counterfeit one. That's a deception. That does not come from God. That does not come from God. I don't want people to hate on me for this, right? Because I don't hate trans people. I really don't. I don't hate someone for being trans. I don't think I'm better. I don't think they're less than. But from just a spiritual perspective, there's a truth in what is happening, and it's not the truth people think it is. The truth is that the devil is using this community to make counterfeits to what God already created and designed. Convincing a man they can be a woman, or convincing a woman they can be a man, knowing that they will never be that thing, will never be able to produce as a man or produced as a woman. It's a counterfeit. It's not the true thing, because how God designed you is the way you're supposed to be, right? And I guess that's why I said in the other video, it's like, to be trans, you're rejecting your reality, in a sense. The way God created you, you don't want to live that way. You want to live according to what you think or feel. And that's what, you know, the devil uses. And I also think, like, there's a lot of other reasons people become trans. I think sexual trauma in general is the, like, something the devil uses to just bring destruction in people's lives. People don't realize how much the devil actually hates you. Like, the traumatic experiences people experience in life, the devil will use that to just further destroy people. He's like, oh yeah, that trauma they experienced, I'm gonna fester anger and confusion and plant those seeds in that person's heart so that I can destroy them even further. You know, it's not the way. These things are not meant to help that person. And I feel like understanding that and knowing that, it's like, I can love people and respect people, but that doesn't mean I'm going to agree or support something that I know is designed to destroy that person at the end of the day, or I know is built around a lie and a deception at the end of the day. It's like, I don't hate trans people, but it's hard for me to support someone being trans, knowing what I know and believing what I believe as a Christian. I don't want to see people be harmed. I don't want to see people be hurt. But it's also, and I want to respect feelings, but I also have to stand for what I know is true, even if it's unpopular, even if some people are not going to like it, even if people are not going to agree. And my thing is, if someone doesn't agree with me, I don't hate you. I can still love someone who disagrees with me. And I don't hate someone who doesn't agree with me either. It's like, we can agree to disagree, and I can still love and respect you and treat you with respect and see you as a valuable human being who just has a difference of opinion. But I think me being that way, a lot of people aren't that way, unfortunately. You know, so many people have learned to just dislike anyone who doesn't agree with them, or try to find a way to demonize someone for having a different viewpoint or perspective, or try to make it about, this person's just hateful and this person's just a bigot. I am neither of those things. I don't think I'm better than anyone. I don't think someone is less than me. I just don't agree that some choices people are making are actually going to benefit them. And me having that difference, that a different perspective, and yes, my perspective is shaped by my faith as a Christian, but it's also built around a lot of harsh truths and hard truths, and people don't want to hear that or don't like that, because I am telling the truth. I'm saying what I know to be true. I'm not trying to lie to people. I'm not trying to attack or wish harm on people by telling them what I know, or what I know and believe to be true. This isn't meant to shame someone. It's not meant to make someone feel less than. It's more so like, I want people to be aware that there's a lot more to this issue than what's on the surface, and that a lot of people are being deceived by these ideologies. And that's all. Peace.